Well, if you have been a visitor to Memories of Christmas Past here at the Arms Museum, you used to go right in the back door. But now we are going to change things up for admission and use the carriage house.
We are. Our response has been so great over the years. It keeps building and building. So in order to accommodate all of the crowds, we actually are taking our admissions in our carriage house now. So you'll come into that building first, pay your admission fee, and then you can head on into the House Museum.
Hey, and I think that would mean more space for the gift house, or the gift shop, right?
Absolutely.
See, more gifts, my favorite part. Well, thanks. I mean, because this is going to be very busy this year. You just can't come once and think you've seen it, because every year it changes. And that is all to the magic of the elf here, Anthony Aurelio, because you start this in the summer, but you've been planning it all year round. Like the minute one year's over.
Yeah, I'm actually working on next year's already.
It's insane.
It is.
He really hit it out of the park this year. I mean, we're talking, the theme is
By the Fireside.
And we don't really want this first room to be by the fireside, because this is paper.
This is all paper, 1910 to about 1950.
And it's the honeycomb, and I had no idea. Wait until you see some of these items. And this is developed by a company originally out of Pittsburgh.
Yes, the inventor's name is Martin Beisel. He's German, and the company still exists today.
Well, the sitting room looks a little bit different than it did last year. Yes. This was my favorite room. It was the mid-century room. And now, what would you call this decor?
Well, it's, I try to carry out like as if it were Mr. Arms' den and so forth. It has a lot of natural elements in it. Mr. Arms here, Wilford, and you know, some of the pieces that they have collected or were family heirlooms over the years and so forth.
Is that his pipe?
That is his smoke stand. That's not his pipe. His ship over there, he had a collection of ships, model ships. And also his trophies, Sterling Silver Trophy awards from Youngstown Country Club.
So this lamp has deer hooves?
Yes.
Is this from the Arms collection?
No, it's not. That's just, you know,
Is
something
a
we
little
found.
macabre, but it's cool.
It's cool.
No.
And then again, we have the Kugel tree here that's on loan by Linda and Dan Dixon from Lisbon. And Kugels were one of the first blown ornaments. Heavy glass with a brass cap. And they originated with, again, the traditional ball, and then they had blown clusters of grapes and pine cones and artichokes.
The dining room, unbelievable. It's Asian. I mean, every room is striking. I love this every year, but
Yeah,
every year I don't think I could love it anymore, and I do.
This is going to be the surprise when people come through, because it's so unexpected, and people always ask me what's my inspiration, how do I come up with the ideas, and it's always you know, maybe a Santa or an ornament and so forth. Well, this year for this room was a 1910 Christmas card that had lanterns and holly and so forth on them. We'll show you those later. And then again, this evolved over really 6 years of pulling Asian elements into this to pull it off. And in keeping with the theme, By the Fireside, we needed something very
so
dramatic
striking.
And making a statement over it. And you know, kind of did a little research on the internet, putting some sort of pagoda and so forth, and they weren't big enough. So I collaborated with a good friend of mine, Patty Reagan, and she constructed this, put it together 100%. The two cards that inspired the whole
thing is from
room,
these two little
right
cards.
here, yes. These date from 1910. They have their little message in there.
Oh, these are so sweet. Who sent that card out?
Well, it was never signed,
Oh.
but again, it's just a wonderful piece. And again, this is what inspired me to do
this whole room.
The whole room.
Well, Bill Lawson, director of the Mahoning Valley Historical Society, you oversee all of this year after year, but I think the most important part is this year. you are going to allow photography. Is this true?
Yes, it is. We've been pretty strict about photography in the past.
Yes.
Not only for convenience of our other visitors, but also because of safety and conditions of the collections that we own or borrow. But we will be allowing people to take non-flash photography in the museum during this year.
Wow, that is huge, because I mean, I've seen people try to take pictures, and you know, the poor, you know, docents and everything are like, no, you're not allowed. And it's great. It's just like the Met. You're allowed to take pictures at the Met now too.
Well, it's again, it's changing in thinking, but the big issue is no flash. But people want to capture the image or take a selfie to say, I've been here.
Yeah.
And that really helps us down the road with social media too.
We will return with more memories of Christmas past on the Casey Malone Show. Well, one of my favorite displays every year, when it's available, is the crystal tree. And this is Doug Cornwell's baby. And Doug, I love the flocking. That was brilliant.
We thought we'd try a little something different this year, and the flocking came into mind. So,
And then with the highlight of the blue lights.
just a touch of blue, and it brings it out very, very pretty.
And you know, this whole room, the whole library is flocked. And I think it really is gorgeous. Trends come and go. Do you see flocking coming back with people and the way they decorate?
Yes, there's a lot more flock trees being bought, and a lot of people like to, you know, put them up every year.
Do you flock your trees at home?
Yeah, in fact, I just put one up in the bedroom that's flocked.
Really?
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Christopher Radko, I think Anthony told me last year, he had his trees flocked.
Yes.
Now tell me the story. This is real lamb's wool with this display.
Correct. I'm always on the outlook for rare and unusual Christmas items, and I focus on the German period, the early 1900s piece, and someone had found this in a shop that was for sale, sent me pictures of the 4 dogs, and I immediately had to have it. It's that unusual. And if you look up on the mantle here, the original musher there, he's covered in mohair. He has his original whip in his hand, and the doll that sits on the sleigh here is German also. She's all felt with wool clothing, and her face is all hand painted.
And of course, when you bring your kids to the arms, they might not really appreciate everything that's going on upstairs, but the lower level, Tracy, this is really good.
Yeah, so we have turned this space into Santa's Village down here. We've been kind of playing with that theme for the last couple of years, but we really amped it up this year thanks to a wonderful partnership and sponsorship with our local Macy's store. So we were so excited to work with Macy's to help us fund this beautiful space and to just have some really extra special activities this year that we've never been able to do before.
So you're gonna have like story hours?
Yes.
And you're gonna have crafts?
Yes.
I mean, and so it really does bring the whole family together.
It does.
And I think that is brilliant.
Exactly.
And
So we
much
have,
needed.
Yeah. So the new thing this year upstairs is you're going to be able to take photos upstairs, but down here we really wanted to kind of put these vignettes so you can do your family photos down here. We'll have the sleigh back out in the main part of the room with costumes, so folks can dress up either as toy soldiers or elves. And we have Santa jackets this year as a new costume. We have this beautiful cabin in here.
Lovely.
That is a great photo backdrop. So those are things that are going to be here every day, along with our crafts. Those will be here every day. But then on Sundays at 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing hot chocolate just down here in the lower level. And then we're also going to be doing some classic Christmas stories as well, reading those aloud.
Well, Anthony is also the curator for the gift shop. And this is my favorite room in the whole Arms Museum, because I always get something really special here, because you curate some vintage pieces and then you have newer items. And I love this. This goes in with the dining room, right?
Correct. We have an Asian influence this year in the dining room, and what I've tried to do is purchase items, new and old, okay, that reflect what you'll see throughout the entire exhibit. Vintage Santas, vintage ornaments, and then, you know, again, in the Asian room, we have lanterns
Yeah,
in
and
there.
look at what a clever idea. You could just stick your little cocktail umbrellas on a tree. How easy is this? I was looking at so many of these pieces, and now I see the artists are looking vintage,
Correct.
but they're not vintage pieces. Like, you look at this and you think, oh my gosh, I remember this.
Right.
But it looks that way.
Right. Yes, we have two lines here this year. One's Bethany Lau, and the other one is Glitterville. And Bethany Lau, she creates reproduction Santa Clauses as if they were from the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And she does, they're excellent quality.
Yeah, and you know, it's today's purchase, but it's tomorrow's collectible. I like that line that you used. But look at, I mean, and I like that you are supporting the Polish Arts Club.
We are.
And these are very old-fashioned Polish ornaments, this
It's an
style.
old tradition, and
Yes.
they're still making them today. And we're thrilled to have them part of the gift shop, and you know.
And the
sell a little bit.
stacking dolls, these look really old, but they're not, and these are nice, you know, ethnic-themed ornaments.
And we
But,
do have
you
some
know,
in the showcase that are the nesting dolls also. So lighted plastic pieces to just the kitschy, you know, 50s and 60s plastic ornaments and so
Yeah,
forth
and then
also.
of course, you know, the Youngstown made Twinkler.
We have the Youngstown Twinkler ornament here made by John Garver, and those are always a big seller. So if
Yeah.
you want one, I would say come in, because every year they sell out fast and they're getting harder and harder to find.
The Casey Malone Show will be right back with more local flavor.